Welcome to the Deep Dive Talk Tickers edition. If you track the respiratory biologics market, you know exactly why we're doing this emergency session. We have some massive pharma news, and it's all built around one number.
2.
Exactly, 2.
Yeah.
As in 2 shots per year. The FDA has officially approved GlaxoSmithKline's new ultra-long-acting biologic, Exdensur.
And this isn't just, another small step forward. This could really disrupt how severe asthma is managed, how it's marketed, everything. GSK isn't just releasing a new drug here.
No, they're launching a massive play on adherence in a market that, frankly, desperately needs it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to figure out what this approval really means for the very competitive $4 billion plus severe asthma market.
Right, and how does this new drug stack up against the blockbusters that are already out there?
And is this new dosing schedule, this twice-a-year thing, is it really enough to unseat the giants?
Well, just to set the stage for you, severe asthma is a huge burden. We're talking about maybe 2 million Americans. And even with all the current therapies, something like half of them are still having frequent exacerbations.
Leading to hospital stays, huge costs.
Huge costs. So the need is definitely there.
And the headline here, the thing that makes this a Talk Ticker's story, is the dosing. It's approved as an add-on treatment for severe asthma with an eosinophilic phenotype, so for patients 12 and up. But the real differentiator is that it's dosed just twice a year.
And that biannual schedule comes directly from its mechanism. It's an interleukin-5 antagonist, an IL-5. So it's designed to target type 2 inflammation, which is, the key driver for a huge percentage of these severe asthma patients.
So let's jump straight to the data, because the big question with any long-acting drug is always the same. Did they trade performance for convenience?
The classic trade-off.
Yeah, did they have to compromise on effectiveness to get that ultra-long duration?
That's the right place to start. And the data here comes from 2 big phase 3 trials, SWIFT-1 and SWIFT-2. Both were year-long studies. They compared Exdensur every 6 months against a placebo.
And what were the headline numbers on the primary endpoint?
Yeah.
The annualized exacerbation rate, the AER?
They were strong. I mean, really strong. In SWIFT-1, they saw a 58% reduction in the rate of asthma attacks over the year.
58%?
Yep. The AER dropped from 1.11 in the placebo group way down to 0.46. SWIFT-2 was right there with it, showing a 48% reduction. So very consistent results.
Okay, so that shows it works over the year with just 2 shots. But, if I'm a healthcare payer, I'm not just worried about minor attacks. I'm worried about the $10,000 ER visits.
And that's where the data gets really compelling. They did a pooled analysis looking specifically at those really significant exacerbations, the ones that require a trip to the hospital or the emergency room.
Yeah.
And they saw a massive 72% reduction in that rate.
Wait, say that again? A 72% reduction in hospital visits.
That's the one. That is the number that the negotiation teams are going to circle in a red marker. It's the whole economic argument right there.
It has to be. A more expensive shot is actually cheaper if it keeps people out of the hospital.
Precisely. And in terms of safety, the long duration didn't seem to cause any new problems. It was well tolerated, pretty similar side effect profile to the placebo.
And these were the usual suspects, right? Nothing too alarming.
Correct. We're talking about things like upper respiratory infections, allergic rhinitis, the flu, some minor joint pain. The stuff you see with a lot of these biologics. Nothing seemed to be uniquely tied to the long-acting formula itself.
Okay, so let's get to the technology. This is the real IP, the engine driving this story.
Mm-hmm.
How on earth did GSK make a biologic that lasts 6 months? I mean, their other IL-5 drug, Nucala, is monthly.
Right.
What's the secret sauce here?
The secret is in some very, very clever molecular engineering. So Exdensur is a monoclonal antibody, like many biologics. But the key innovation, the thing that gives it this incredible half-life, is a unique triple amino acid substitution. It's called YTZ.
YTE substitution. Okay, that sounds technical. Break that down for us. Why is that so powerful?
Okay, so think of it like this. When you inject a standard biologic, your body has systems to clear it out. But there's also a recycling pathway involving something called the neonatal FC receptor, or FcRn.
Okay.
Normally, this receptor grabs onto antibodies and pulls them back into the bloodstream instead of letting them get broken down. It's like the body's own recycling program.
It's like a postal system where if the package has the right sticker, it gets sent back to the sorting center instead of going to the dump.
That is a perfect analogy. And the YT substitution is like putting a platinum VIP sticker on that package. It makes the drug bind to that recycling receptor way, way more tightly.
So it just keeps getting recycled over and over.
Exactly. It's shielded from being destroyed, so the body processes it much, much more slowly. And that's what extends its half-life from Nucala's 20 days to an estimated mean of 48 days for Exdensur.
48 days. Wow. And that difference is what the whole strategy is built on.
It's everything. That 48-day half-life is what lets them go to market with a twice-a-year dosing schedule. It just completely changes the conversation around patient adherence.
And that conversation is so important. We know these drugs are underutilized.
They are, massively. The data suggests only about 20% of eligible patients in the U.S. actually get a biologic. And a huge reason for that is the hassle.
The constant injections.
The constant injections, the clinic visits, it's a huge barrier. A doctor will tell you longer dosing intervals would be a game changer. This doesn't just help patients stay on the therapy, it might convince them to start it in the first place.
Okay, so we have a drug with great efficacy, a groundbreaking mechanism, and a clear solution to a major patient problem. Now let's talk about the market. This is Talk Tickers. GSK is calling for peak sales of $4 billion by 2031.
A very formidable number.
How do they carve that out in a market this crowded?
That $4 billion target is aggressive. It's betting everything on that convenience factor driving really rapid adoption. I think you have to look at the competition in two different rings.
Let's start with the inner ring. The direct IL-5 drugs, where GSK is already a player. This is basically them trying to cannibalize their own product, right?
It is a successful self-cannibalization. They already have the blockbuster Nucala, which brings in over $2 billion a year, but it's a monthly shot. Then you've got AstraZeneca's Fasenra, which is every 8 weeks.
Those good drugs.
Excellent drugs.
Right.
But a twice-a-year schedule creates a convenience gap that is it's huge. GSK is basically betting on the better technology, even if it hurts their existing cash cow in the short term.
But the outer ring is where the real fight is. You have the non-IL-5s, and that space is totally dominated by Sanofi and Regeneron's Dupixent. That's the gorilla in the room.
It is the gorilla in the room.
Can convenience alone beat a drug that's so dominant across multiple type 2 diseases?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question. Dupixent is the king of type 2 inflammation, asthma, eczema, you name it. It's dosed every 2 or 4 weeks, and its asthma sales alone are projected to hit almost $5 billion by 2031.
So it's already bigger than GSK's target for Exdensur.
Exactly. And then you also have Tezspire from AstraZeneca and Amgen, which is monthly and works really well across different patient types. So Exdensur has the convenience edge, but Dupixent has this huge established market presence.
Which brings us to the price. This all comes down to pricing, doesn't it?
It always does. The price isn't out yet, but you look at the competitors. Dupixent is over $38,000 a year. Fasenra is around $30,000. The speculation is that GSK will try for a premium price per dose.
Because there are only 2 of them.
Right, and they have to convince payers of 2 things. First, that it's just logistically easier to manage 2 shots a year. And second, that the 72% reduction in ER visits will actually save them money in the long run, even if the sticker price is higher.
The classic value proposition. Okay, let's quickly touch on the practical side, the regulatory detail.
Super important. The drug is for a very specific group, patients 12 and up with that eosinophilic phenotype. They define that by blood eosinophil count of 150 or higher, so they're targeting it very precisely.
And what about the warnings for doctors? You can't just switch patients over cold turkey.
No, absolutely not. The label is very clear. 1, this is not a rescue inhaler. It's not for acute attacks. 2, and this is critical, patients cannot just stop their steroids when they start Exdensur. That has to be a slow, supervised process.
Right.
And 3rd, because of how it works, patients have to be screened for parasitic infections before they start treatment.
And finally, there was a really interesting warning tied directly to that YTE engineering that makes it last so long.
Yes, this is the really forward-looking part. The FDA has a specific warning about pregnancy. Because that YTE modification makes the drug stick around for so long, there's a concern that an infant exposed in the womb could have prolonged, maybe even increased exposure.
And we don't know what that means.
We don't. The clinical impact is unknown. So that becomes a very serious conversation for doctors to have with patients who are or might become pregnant. It's a direct result of the innovation itself.
So wrapping this up, the approval of Exdensur is GSK's big calculated bet on patient convenience. They're trying to turn 2 shots a year into market share and hit that huge $4 billion sales target.
It's a fascinating strategy. They're betting logistics can beat the broad market dominance of their competitors.
Which brings us to the segment you've all been waiting for, the "This is not financial advice" segment.
Okay, so let's state the risks. We don't know the price of Exdensur, and Dupixent is a monster. It's got brand recognition, a huge prescriber base. It's a tough opponent.
But the convenience factor here isn't just a small improvement. It's transformative. We're talking 2 shots a year versus 26 for Dupixent. And history shows us convenience can move markets faster than anyone expects.
So with that in mind, our outrageous but plausible trade idea is a paired trade. Long GSK for Exdensur, short Sanofi for Dupixent.
And the thesis is purely about adherence. The idea is that the 2 shots a year factor will cause a faster than expected migration of severe asthma patients away from high-frequency drugs,
Potentially causing Dupixent's severe asthma growth numbers for 2026, 2027 to miss their targets. It's a pure bet on human behavior, patients and doctors choosing the path of least resistance.
It's a bold play. But let's end with a final provocative thought for you. That whole discussion about the YTE modification and pregnancy risk, it raises a huge question for the entire biotech industry. If this YTE technology becomes the new standard for making ultra-long-acting drugs for all sorts of chronic diseases, how does that completely reshape the rules for pre-pregnancy planning and drug safety? The half-life of a drug is no longer just a technical detail.
It becomes a major long-term risk factor that regulators and doctors will have to grapple with for decades. A very critical question.
It's an excellent thought to end on. That wraps our deep dive into GSK's Exdensur approval. We will be tracking this one very closely. Thanks for joining us.